Hello, I'm Eleni, and I will tell you how human-centric leading is different from what we do today. Okay? Now, I'll start when we're children. We're born pure, whole, and complete, happy, open, imaginative, trusting, risk takers. We fall, we get up. We fall, we get up. We don't judge other people. We're loving and generous. And so we have a huge, huge perspective, and we're open to everything. Then, as we become older, we become socialized. We go into the education system. Our parents already start this as soon as they do, whenever they do, whatever age that is. And we start becoming more focused on what we pay attention to. And that's done through reward and punishment and through criticism, judgment, and blame. So those are the tools of today's model, which we call legacy industrial model, the model that uses the assumption of the Industrial Revolution. That's how they used to see things. Now, how do we know this? If we go through the education system, we're taught how to think, no mistakes. We're supposed to be perfect. We're supposed to be good. What is good? Good is getting good grades. Good is being obedient. Good is practicing our piano. Bad is talking while the teacher is talking. Bad is doing things outside of what a test or what a project requires. Bad is giggling with your friends during class. And we're punished for those things. We're either rewarded and punished. So over time, we start to internalize all these things. So they move from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind through repetition over years and sometimes decades. So we're focused on logic instead of emotions. We're focused on rules instead of creativity. We're focused on standards, on labels. You're good, you're a rebel, you're naughty, you're this, you're that. And we start to internalize them. And then we grow up and we become adults who have specific thoughts and have specific feelings and therefore behavior that is a result of this context, the socialization process that is actually anchored into our subconscious mind through the education system. And if you think about it, the public education system was designed for the Industrial Revolution to bring workers into the business world, so to speak, to support production, right? So it's not, it was made and designed specifically to shift people from being illiterate to make them literate, be able to think and help the Industrial Revolution. And when we talk about legacy Industrial Revolution, we mean the legacy meaning the thought process. The tools we use since the Industrial Revolution are still in our societies today. We think we've moved on to the information age, to the data age, to the energy age. We're still in our minds rooted in the industrial model of what is good and what is bad, and this linear, dualistic type of thinking. So, when we're adults, we're cautious, we're fearful of making mistakes. We hate criticism, judgment, and blame, even though we often do that. We often criticize, judge, and blame. We're skeptical, we're risk averse. And these are behaviors, it doesn't mean those people, we are good or bad. We are functions of our context. But what do? We focus on the person. We say, you are not flexible enough. You are not creative enough. You are not a good initiator. You are not working hard. You are lazy. Like we focus everything on the individual as if the individual is to blame, so to speak, for how he or she behaves when it's been socialized in the education system or by the education system. So it's not that we say nobody has responsibility or accountability for their behavior. We're not saying that. We're saying we can understand now how the context affected us when we started here and we end up here. So basically, if we, instead of CJB, criticize, judge, and blame the individual, we can question the context. So look at it this way. What we do today, we take kids, we put ourselves through a system. We come out one way or another, more guarded, more perfectionist than others, at least certainly than as we were when we were kids. And our entire attention is focused on prove yourself. Prove you're good, prove you're smart, prove you're adaptable, prove you're resilient, prove you're engaging, prove you're likable. We have to prove everything because it's assumed we have no inherent value. We cut out our emotions. We're only as good as what we achieve, so we have to, in this system, prove ourselves. Otherwise, we are worthless. We have nothing to show for ourselves, right? That's a common metaphor in the US, at least. So most of our attention then is defend ourselves, convince others. Think of the last 10 meetings you've had. And how much of the time was one person or one group of people trying to defend their positions, defend their data, defend their ideas, and defend what happened, and convince someone else somebody's right, the other is wrong. Okay? And so what human-centric leading does is say, okay, stop, let's try this again. We may not be able to change this in the moment, but we can say shift from prove yourself, defend and convince, to share. Share your data, share your perspectives, assume you are good, you are worthy, you are smart, you are capable. And if you aren't, you can learn those skills because, you know, we have that capacity as humans. So it shifts us from sharing. Sharing is not like this. Sharing is like that. So we shift from this fighting, defending, convincing, to sharing, to being open, and to questioning the context. So if somebody is defensive, for example, we can ask ourselves, what in this context is making that person or influencing that person to be defensive? Were we criticizing? Were we judging? Were we blaming? Because usually things are linked. If I judge you, it's likely you'll defend. Very few people have the capacity to remain open when they're thrown with darts with criticism, judgment, and blame. That's what we want to get to, but most of us are not there. And so what human-centric leading does, it shifts our focus from all of this industrial model thinking to much more open thinking of thoughts and emotions. So logic and emotions are acceptable. We look at context instead of blame the individual. We shift from prove to share yourself. And this opens up the context, the culture, the team culture, the environment, so that people don't feel like they have to defend themselves to prove they're good. They can just share it. So this is the fundamental difference between what we're doing today and what human-centric leading does. And it's a mindset. So it allows for everything that we want to share. And we ask ourselves, how can we use, let's say, this creativity, this piece of data, this concern? How can we use that as data to make to solve problems or to create opportunities to small and grand problems we have today?